Hello everyone, this is Charlotte and this is a podcast called Chatting Whilst Painting. It's where I discuss varying topics whilst doing craptacular art. I'm feeling a bit weird about the whole situation, to be honest. There is a disclaimer at the start of this podcast because I do talk about sensitive topics and I do swear a lot, so if you don't want to hear me swearing or talking about random topics which are sometimes quite aggressive, you might want to change the channel. Find something more agreeable, something less aggressive maybe, or maybe less conflicting. I also have terrible music, which I'm going to subject you to. So if you don't want to hear that, I suggest changing the channel as well. The topic for today is choosing a direction in life, which is easier said than done. I don't know if you're anything like me, but you might have been raised to believe that you've got a certain life path set out and you're going to do this because this is what your parents have chosen for you. I know growing up in my household, it was non-negotiable that we were going to go to uni. I didn't have a choice. It was absolute. You are going to finish high school, you are going to go to uni, you are going to go get an education, then you're going to get a job. There are no if, no buts, no maybes. You will do this. It was an expectation. It wasn't a right or a privilege. It was a you're going to do it. So I think, what is it? 3 out of 4 of us siblings went to uni. My older sister ended up doing what's known as a TAFE course and becoming a childcare person. My brother and I are both teachers, and my younger sister got a degree in photography. I think she got a degree in photography just out of spite. Because, I don't think she had a particular interest in it, but, my parents were like, you have to go to uni and do this. Not particularly photography, but she had to walk out with a degree. So, there's something to be said for the demands placed on an individual when it comes to shaping their pathway, their future. Of course, you have the concept of free will to use in the same regard, same breath. But the factors that are around you in the context you find yourself will actually shape your decisions. And sometimes shit happens that you didn't see coming, and that will shape your situation as well. And your decisions with what you want to do in your life. It's not until maybe you hit around about 30 that you start questioning, did I make the right fucking move? Logically speaking, and I've had to talk to a lot of people in their 30s to come to that conclusion. So it's not just, pulled out of the air. You'll find that a lot of people around about 30 or so will have a quarter-life crisis or, like a midlife crisis of some nature and start reevaluating everything they've done. So, it's an interesting thing. By then, usually we're sucked into some kind of mortgage or child situation. So, some of us are anomalies. Some of us get divorced instead with no kids. And that kind of, I suppose, frees up your choices for where you could take your life next. But, it's a difficult move because we're asking, 17-year-old kids in high school, or 15, if you're in Australia, you can drop out of high school at 15 and go to TAFE. TAFE is like a polytech thing where you get to learn a trade instead. We're asking them to make huge life-changing decisions at a time in life where they're not even emotionally stable enough to, wipe their own ass, clean their room properly. So it is a bit of a challenge to get them to get the right decisions, or what we deem as the right decisions. There's no one way to live your life, obviously. There's lots of ways to skin a cat, which is one of those horrible metaphors, which is accurate but horribly graphic at the same time. Everyone's different. We all want different things, maybe. To have the cookie cutter lifestyle touted as the norm is to be, restricted. Not everybody wants the same things. As much as you want, in a Stepford wife kind of way, a lot of people like to live with a certain template or understanding this is what you should be aiming for. The reality of the situation is that life changes very quickly and can be very dynamic when it comes to adding anomalies and elements to your life which will fuck up your plans. For example, I didn't see myself leaving my ex-husband. I assumed that I would be with him until I got old and you know, eventually died with him. The anomaly in that instance being I didn't expect that after 16 years that he would want an open marriage. I did not see it coming. I didn't think it was part of his nature to. I thought I knew him enough to not expect such a, what seemed like a wild demand at the time. And I don't think, to be honest, he put much thought into it. I think he expected me to go with it, because he had pretty much conditioned me to accept whatever was being served, essentially. My parents had set the foundation for that kind of behavior as well, which was, you know, setting your own children up for a fall, to follow orders without question. You should be allowing, especially girls, to question what's going on, because most of the time girls are, you know, on the receiving end of the shit when it goes down. So you should encourage them to question what's being served and whether they actually want it. A lot of coercion goes on in the female sex when it comes to, oh, you have to be a nice person, you accept whatever's going because that's the way things are. We get them to stand up for themselves. They can actually start making life choices about what they actually want and what's good for them, rather than going with whatever's being given to them and accepting that's all that's available to them, so they have to accept it. It's ridiculous, it's restrictive, and it sets them up for a fall in the long term. So, you know, that's my views on feminism, or some of. I don't head into neo-feminism, by the way. I don't think females are better than men. I do think that they should be aiming for equality. But, you know, some people will still say that's still a threat. Even if you're thinking for yourself, we need to somehow restrict them more, which I find silly. Because if you think about it, women are an asset. Who doesn't need an extra pair of hands? It's like, why would you restrict yourself, you know, tying one arm behind your back for the sake of saying I'm the dominant one? It's a very odd conversation running around right now. I don't think you're quite understanding how much the guys are hamstringing themselves by trying to restrict women. It's like, you don't quite understand what we do for you, do you? Anyway, that's a big conversation I'm not going to have on this podcast, because it might send some people into a triggered mentality, particularly if they have a penis. I don't think they know what we do. I think to some degree women's business is still a hidden business to them. They don't know how much impact we actually have on their life. It's interesting. I mean, you literally came from a woman. We were the first providers. You're here simply because we let you be here. It's like, I don't know. And then they get scared, start trying to oppress them. I don't know. It's a weird conversation. We're not going there. Not today. We'll do it another time. Choosing a life path is often harder than it seems, because honestly, you cannot see what's coming. Even as much as you've got like pattern recognition, and you know, if you're anything like me, looking at the past to see where the future is going, by, you know, tweaking things in the present, you can't exactly factor in every element which could potentially shape the path you choose to go. I didn't see divorce coming. I didn't see COVID lockdowns and things like that coming, which also shaped a few of my life decisions. Employment opportunities, financial arrangements. I didn't think I would have to own my own apartment, to be honest. I thought I would still have the other one, which I co-owned with my ex-husband. So life does tend to throw a curveball at you, but every time you get given this curveball, it tends to be a growing or a learning experience, as long as you don't let it suffocate you in the process. I know people get people get upset because of these things turn up, and they think, oh my God, you're trying to just destroy my entire existence. But sometimes, you know, existences need to be destroyed so you can reformat in a better way, or a more efficient way. I know, for example, that, you know, with the cost of living, a lot of things have gone up in price. There's a curveball that no one really saw coming. We saw inflation coming as a steady increase, but to be honest, with the COVID lockdowns, inflation was sort of like, oh, that's going up in a curve, and then suddenly, so, go and look for the graph. It's hilarious. It's on the internet somewhere, and you'll see like the last 20 years of inflation laid out, and it's sort of a trickle, whoop. So, you know, over the last 5 years or so, and you go, what the fuck happened? It's just like, oh yeah, Harambe. No, it wasn't Harambe. But, you know, people didn't see it coming, and they had trouble adapting to the circumstances in which they found themselves because they assumed that it would always be a certain, maybe a continuous, steady increase in things like inflation, but never the complete jump that it went in. So we got used to living in a particular way, in a particular manner. And a lot of people had to adapt. I had to adapt. I thought rents and mortgages would stay relatively around the same price. I mean, maybe a little bit more expensive, but never enough to make me pissed off enough to want to buy a house because the mortgage was actually cheaper than the rent. I found that interesting. It was weird because usually it's like the mortgage is harder to obtain than the rent. But, you know, weird anomalies. I don't know if it's just this country, to be honest. We have to adapt. You don't see those curveballs coming. But adaptability is the best way you're going to move forward anyway. I think if you're going to choose a life path, it should be something that you can live with. As much as we would like, say, you know, they always say, if you choose a job that you have a passion about, that you love, you're never going to work a day in your life. And I think that's bullshit. Because had I chosen the passion that I actually liked, I would have been in clothes design. And the more practical side of that situation was, I don't think my venture into clothes design and dress labels and things like that would have survived the COVID era. I don't think it would have survived it. I think I would have had to close up shop, and then I wouldn't have had any skills other than clothes design to work with. And again, that would have pushed me towards a different life direction, which was a more practical one, which I knew I could get an income from. So as much as they say follow your passion, just, you know, make sure you've got backup, I'd say. Being a teacher, it wasn't a problem. It was stable even throughout. I mean, we were working whilst people were dropping like flies, but you know what? Relief teachers, we work dead, dying and bleeding. We don't give a fuck as long as we get paid. Which is something that full-time staff I don't think appreciate as much, because we don't have sick days or long service leave. We work because we have to, and if we don't work, we don't eat. So realistically, when they say essential workers, it's not the full-time teachers who get sick leave. The essential workers were the backup, which were us, which don't take a day off, which don't bail on our responsibilities if we get a snivel. I find that very funny. It's like, there are essential workers, but they weren't those ones. The essential workers are the casual workers that don't have sick leave. There you go. Nurses and doctors, I can absolutely understand, were essential workers in those circumstances because we needed them to help deal with the sickness and maybe try and restrict it as best they could, spreading further into the population. Definitely essential workers. People who worked in pubs were not essential workers because, you know, I'm sure you're going to survive if you don't get shit-faced. I'm just sure you're going to survive. Maybe your income, if you're working in those places, wouldn't survive, but, you know, people in general will survive if they don't get shit-faced for a day or a couple of weeks, and we go into lockdowns with masks and stuff. So, you know, you got to look at a life path which is also sustainable. We all want to follow our dreams, but sometimes maybe our dreams aren't sustainable as we thought they were. And you can never see which factors realistically are going to impact on that. You can recognize to some degree some patterns which have occurred, like I doubt the schools will go back into lockdown, but there is a chance of it, so we factor in ways to back up that the preparation for if that does happen again, or at least I have in that regard. Other than that, you know, you have to find some joy in what you do. I mean, it's a hard decision at 16, 17 when you're sitting your uni-level degree exams, figuring out what you actually want to do with your life. It's hard because you're more interested in I don't know, socializing or the boys or the girls or whatever it is. You're more like inclined to have social interactions rather than academic life purpose driving interactions. Unless, of course, you went to my high school where half the girls were pregnant at 15. So someone made life decisions pretty fucking early. Someone normalized it in that area. which is what my parents were partially paranoid about. And they're like, you're going to finish high school, you're going to get a uni degree, you know. So in a way, it was a supportive environment in that regard. The way they went about it wasn't exactly the best. It's driven by force in their way. I mean, you don't have a choice. You took away my free will, because in that case, they might have known what's best for me compared to what my counterparts would have done. We had girls, don't know who the father, or maybe they did, but they broken up. We had girls turning up to some of the classes. I remember taking a baby on a zoo excursion. I'm like, why is this baby here? It's like, yeah, so-and-so brought it with him. I'm like, what the fuck? Of course, the baby became the mascot of the group and we took it around the zoo. It was fun, but you know, it's the anomaly of being and knowing that you are way too young for these things that sort of deters you from wanting to take that kind of lifestyle choice on yourself and cutting that life path. A lot of the dumb mistakes we make can be avoided by simply using common sense, for example. Don't take up drugs, don't smoke, don't have one-night stands with people that you don't fucking know. You know, it's a question of common sense and morality as well. I'm not saying go full conservative nut where you don't do anything wrong at all. We're all still human. It's impossible to not do something wrong. But at the same time, it's like some of this shit you should be avoiding as pitfalls because it just doesn't make sense anyway. It's like one night stands. I mean, that's an unsaid contract that if shit goes down, you would probably stay anyway, right? You get someone pregnant, either you would abort it if it's allowed, or, you know, so if you're having sex, the result of sex is a baby. That's a given. You might be on the best contraception in the world, but it's still a risk, isn't it? Even the pill's like 99.9% effective. You still get that 0.1% of it could happen. And me being, you know, Irish, it's being super fertile. The chance is there. Which is why when I was on the pill at 21 and 23, I still feel pregnant. Miscarried though, which was a curse and a blessing in itself. It's a double-edged sword. At the time it was a curse, but also a blessing, because I was way too young to raise a kid. And I didn't have any money or a job, and I was barely out of high school. Bearing in mind at the time I was engaged to the guy I fell pregnant to, who I later married and then divorced. But, you know, I don't know if he would have been inclined to stay had he known about the first pregnancy. I only told him about the second pregnancy up front, and then after that one I told him about the first one. And I had actually broken up with him over the first one because I knew this was a lifestyle he didn't want. And I'm sitting there going, well, I can take it on myself. And because the problem, we take on these burdens ourselves thinking, well, this person doesn't want this and I could probably do it myself. And so I ended up breaking up with him. So that was stupid in my part. But I was 21 at the time, so you're not thinking straight at 21. We're all full of ourselves at 21. It's like, I can handle it. I got no job, no education. You know, well, I did have an education. I was in uni at the time, but you know. You're a bit full of yourself in your 20s. Looking back at, you know, nearly 40, I would have told my 21-year-old self, you're fucking insane. Because I know better now, because I've lived more, I've done more, I've gone, this is insane. But at the time you think you're pretty ballsy and you're ballsy and you think, I can handle it, I can do it. Which will again affect your future. If both those children had survived, I would be a completely different person. They would be late teens now. What was it, 2003 and 2006? No, 2006, 2008. 2003, I was literally just out of high school. So what's that, 2006, 2008? They would be 18 and 16, if my maths is right. 16 and 18. I can't imagine having teenagers running around the house. I think it would give me the shits. Wait, hang on, I'm going to have to do the maths on that. I am going to have to do the maths. My brain is completely fried. I'm on holidays, man. So what year is it? 2025. See, they're about the same age as my nieces. Like, my older sister's got 2 girls, and mis she had one. She got pregnant, miscarried, then I miscarried, then she had one that survived, then I miscarried again, and then she had another one that survived. So it was a weird pattern between the 2 of us. I don't know, maybe our periods synced up or something, I don't know, but she got 2 kids out of hers and I didn't. What is it, 2025? There's a weird minus 2006. So one would be 19 and one would be 17 and 19. Oh my god, they'd be around about the same age as the kids that work in the pub. It's like, I'm literally old enough to be your mum. Oh my god. But you know, again, shaped by circumstances. This time, knowing that I have no kids, my freedom is there. I would have had to have stayed, and I would have, of my own volition, my own prison of the mind, I would have stayed with my now ex-husband because we would have had 2 kids together. Whether he would have stepped up to the mark to become the dad that he needed to be at the time, I doubt it. Being that he himself was only 21 at the time, I don't know if he would have stepped up, and he's quite an immature person in general. I knew him. I don't know if he would have had, I mean, he quit everything he ever touched, whether it's high school, the Navy, jobs his dad gave him, school, he just, like, up higher education, he just constantly quit. Working for other people who quit that, you know, it's like, eventually he quit our marriage by doing dumb shit, and you sit there and think, this man would have bailed on me at some point. I have a strong feeling it would have been a given had they survived, and I would have been stuck there with 2 kids, no money, barely an education, sitting on welfare because my time was completely consumed with an asshole who bails on every responsibility he's ever touched. So, you know, which is common for the area in which I was raised. Sadly enough, low SES areas. By a miracle, it would seem, those 2 got reassigned in the ether, shall we say. Got sent somewhere else, a better place, I would hope. And I regained my freedom. Unfortunately, it's one of those commonplace stories in low SES areas where girls just get knocked out and left. It didn't happen because, simply put, they didn't survive. I left him because I got pregnant the first time. We got back together. I got pregnant a second time, 2 years later. I lost it in the toilet at my friend's house. I had a party one time, I think it was actually. I think it was a New Year's party. He was a really good friend. I didn't bother telling him, but you know. And I just got on with life. I didn't deal with it mentally because, you know, you're raised tough and you don't have to deal with this shit. You just, you know, bury it and keep walking. And women do that too. It's not just a case of men have to toughen up and be tough and don't feel if some shit goes down, you just have to deal with it. Women do too. We just don't make a song and dance about it. We don't hold a pissing parade to measure our dicks. We do just get on with it. And yes, we talk about our feelings. And for some reason, men see that as a weakness. But, you know, we still go through the shit and we handle it, but we also talk about it. Women are more stoic than men. So we do some shit, we talk about the shit, and then we get on with the shit. Men deny that they're feeling the shit, bury the shit, crack later, and then wonder why. You know, it's like, the thing to walk away with that is, everybody goes through shit. And your life path, though it may be facing different versions of shit, will be littered with it, that you're just going to have to deal with. The best way to do it is to feel the feels and try to alter the present to affect the future. And that's unfortunately one of the pitfalls of being human. Or, you know, not even human, just being alive. Animals still go through that kind of shit too. Anyway, that was a tangent. Big hugs to anyone who's going through that kind of shit right now, because it's not an easy walk to do, especially if you're doing it alone like I was. So, and at a young age, it is not it's not an easy thing to do, I should say, to be barely out of puberty yourself and dealing with very grown-up situation of not only pregnancy but miscarriage. and to be alone at the point of miscarriage. It is gut and heart wrenching. It's you've never felt more alone in your life. Anyway, and to not tell anyone. If you didn't tell anyone because you're conditioned to believe that no one will help you get your hyper independence like I did. I didn't tell anyone I was pregnant. I didn't tell anyone I miscarried. The only person who knew I miscarried was my ex-husband, now ex-husband. I doubt even my parents. Oh no, they would know by now. I would have told them by now. But to walk it alone is a hard fucking thing. A lot of people won't understand how shitty it is until they walk it themselves. You all might sit there and, thoughts and prayers. That's it. No, thoughts and prayers. Oh, that's a horrible experience. Thoughts and prayers. But until you actually walk that path and feel those feels, you won't fucking know what it's like. So, that's learning through doing. Same as men won't understand what it is to have a miscarriage, yet they can convict a woman in Texas or wherever if she does have one, murdering her own child. These are fucked up laws. I've been watching feeds coming out of America. I'm sitting there going, these can't be real. It's absurd. Weird, just weird. I can't imagine how you could be convicted for something you have no control over. You have no control over miscarriages, none at all. It's like being convicted for having a period. It's weird. It's the murder of the potential ovulation that could have happened. You fucking idiots! I have no control over my periods, even when I'm on the pill. What? Yeah. It's like convicting men over wet dreams. It's absurd. It's like it's the what are they, the abandonment of potential babies that could be. Every time you have a unsolicited emission at night against your will, we're gonna convict you of potential infanticide. To prison you go, death penalty. It's absurd. It's like something you have no control over. Fucking stupid. You've got to protect the life of the child. You mean the child I had no part in keeping alive because I have no fucking control over the situation? We're going to convict you anyway. We need to pick on someone. You're close enough. These are weird tangents we go on anyway. I hope it improves for them. This is absurd. It really is absurd. It shows an utter disregard and an understanding of the biology of the female form. It's like you have no fucking idea what's going on back there, do you? Think it's all fucking wizards and magic in my uterus? It's like, it's magic and it's witchcraft and burn them. Particularly if they miscarry. What the fuck is wrong with you? You fucking retards. Oh my god. Absurd. Fucking conservative. Anyway. Probably, right? They're the ones pushing these agendas. Anyway, what time is it? Oh, we're only at, is that 28? So common sense, unlike America, is probably one of the best assets you're going to have towards picking a life path which is conducive to growth and constructive reality. So we say a constructive reality. As perceived by the viewer, the role player in this stage of reality. If you want to go Shakespearean, we are all players, and the world is merely a stage, which incorporates authenticity and masking. Anyway, try and find a format or a role that is actually constructive and does no harm. It's probably the best way to look at it. It needs to be sustainable in that it will suit your survival, financial, emotional, psychological. I'm convinced that maybe the American that was weird. It was me being magical about my miscarriages. No, fucking muggles. Of course that will make a miscarriage. Merely being female will make a miscarriage. I'm having issues with that severely. I cannot understand why the fuck they have regressed that far to believe that. And to not only believe it, but to put policies in place which enact that. It's like, yeah, fucking stupid out there. Fucking stupid. Oh my god. And they'll say, you and your liberal shit. And I'll say, bitch, I'm a pragmatist. I don't give a fuck about any of you. I'm just looking at stupid shit and pointing it out. Doesn't matter whose stupid shit it is. It's still stupid. Oh my god. Which is why I have a go at fairies as well. Stupid too. And they'll say, oh, you're too conservative. And I'll say, no, I just point out stupid where I see it. I'm a pragmatist. Something you guys don't seem to understand. Let's not get political about this. It's ridiculous because all political shit is abstract shouting. It never goes anywhere really. Ultimately, we all live to, ascribe to the mechanism which is capitalism, regardless of whether you are communist or fascist or democratic, left, right, center. You all want that coin. Politics is just the mechanism to sway the masses into giving you it. Is that reductive? I don't know. Is it not? But choose a life path that's sustainable. Ethical should be the mainstay of whatever you're doing. It should be a no-harm policy. Even talking in terms of things like environmental stuff, you should be aiming for a no impact to your surroundings. Lifestyle choice, for example, we all started doing things like recycling in a bid to reduce our impact on the planet in terms of pollution. Unfortunately, the way we live does have an impact on the environment around us. Bearing in mind that we make a vast amount of litter and shit like that simply by just trying to preserve our food or our goods long enough to get them into our house. Part of the capitalist consumer stuff. Diatribe. Diatribe? Not enough coffee or too much. A byproduct of wanting to belong to a capitalist society is dealing with the fallout of waste. I op shop. I like op shopping because you find all weird shit there. So that's one of the fun parts of. It's not anti-capitalist because you still pay for stuff, but at the same time, you recycle, you reduce, you reuse. You're reusing someone else's stuff that they bought at one point, possibly sharing a moment where, because they bought it, I think it's cool because I'm buying it from the op shop. So it's a social good, really. You're making connections with others based on the previous purchases. You could look at it in a way that way. Genuinely, I like the weird shit though. I will find the weird shit. Because you can't believe that it was ever invented, but some of the weirdest shit has been invented just to feed the money machine. How can we make a profit? Let's make some really weird shit that will appeal to someone because it's so out there and such an anomaly that someone will buy it at least. Which is possibly why rich people have a shitload of ugly furniture and stuff, because they've bought all the good stuff. Now they're just dealing with the leftovers. So it's like, might as well buy the shit stuff as well. I've seen their houses. I'm not impressed. It's just a lot of expensive, ugly shit spread out in bigger spaces. They just wasted a shitload more money for no fucking reason. We're going off on some tangents today. What to remember? Your life decisions will impact everyone around you. And with that comes a certain level of responsibility that you need to make sure that you have made the kind of life decisions that don't adversely impact someone. Some people, for some reason, are that selfish that they can't understand what their decisions may have an impact on. Dads abandoning their kids, or governments only paying attention to how they can make dividends for whoever is invested in that particular field. Woolworths trying to make as much money as they can for their shareholders, for example, by driving up the prices and feeding into the cost of living. The problems that people are already facing, which they're exacerbating with jumped up prices, for example. I don't know if any of you are in Australia right now, but we're all pretty pissed off with Coles and Woolworths because they've jacked up the prices despite inflation already being present. which demonstrates a severe lack of social conscience in regard to their products and business, bad business practices. But they don't seem to understand it. And that's part of the thing we need to avoid as people. How my lifestyle choice is going to negatively impact those around me, and I need to reduce it as well. What is going on there? I broke some jewelry I'm fixing, don't mind me. Got broken parts. See, reuse, recycle. These are all my broken bits of jewelry that I've either snapped off or something like that, and I like to recycle bits of them. See, that's not good. I recycle them as much as I can, and if I can't recycle or fix or repair with this, I will just sell it as a bulk broken jewelry on eBay and, you know, get some of the money back at least. Which is called, what do they call it? It's like recycling. It's acquisition, no, it's something. There is a word for it. You still want the money back on it if you can, and they'll take that broken jewelry, melt it down and make it into something else, usually sell it on Etsy or something like that. So there is, you know, hope for them yet. Even if something's broken, it can be repaired. See, all I need in this one is like a broken jump ring, an open jump ring, which can repair that easily. We have got too used to the concept of just throwing shit away. And in that way, we're wasting our own resources. But if people want to admit that, I don't know. See, that's silver? I think that's silver. Don't mind me. I'm waffling again. Choose a lifestyle that is sustainable. For example, I could very easily just go out and buy some more jewelry. If this is broken, I'll just get something else. I choose to fix these broken parts when my hands aren't shaking from coffee intake. Oh, fuck you. It would be easy for me to just replace it. I prefer to repair it. I think that's a skill set that we need to keep running. And if I could, if I had kids, I'd probably teach them. I got it. I would probably teach them how to repair stuff, because at some point you're not going to have access to just buying new shit. You're going to have to fix what you have, particularly if this current political climate lends itself to more inflation, which is absurd. People are going to start losing the ability to consume, which is funny because it's then going to affect the economy, driving up inflation further. Driving it up, running it down. That's why we keep having economic stimulus. Every now and again, the Australian government turns around and says, we're giving you free money so you can pour it back into the economy. At that point, I have a strong feeling something's gone tits up, and so they're trying to pay us to buy more. I have a feeling. Now, the question is, which ankle did this go on? But ultimately, the best thing you can do is have practical skills that are usable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It was that one. I'm not entirely insane. I know what I'm doing. Did this have links on it? It had. What did it have on it? I think I had one of them, actually. No, that was that one. Okay. See, that one's broken links. I'm going to have to find links for that. But we get too complacent in what we're doing, and we don't actually think about the impact it could have further on. If everybody got used to the convenience of just going out and buying new shit, which is what they ideally want, because then it means you're going to drive the economy up further and people are going to make more profits and shareholders are going to get more money out of the whole situation. They'll be fine. You won't be, because you're broke. If they can do that, then it works for them. It fucks you, ultimately, which then, again, in a feedback loop, fucks them, because you won't be buying anything anymore, which they're going to find out soon, because the cost of living's gone up and no one can afford anything. Oh, I need to fix that too. Alright, I'll fix that too. But that's the thing, it's like we need to live sustainably. These are skills that people should still have. You should know how to fix a car if you have a car. The problem with the way they've designed cars these days is only certain people with certain education, mechanics for example, know how to fix a car, and they need specific equipment to do so, because everything's electronics based. Everything's, you know, got special parts. Even if you buy an Apple phone, you have to take it to an Apple store. You can't even take it just to a regular store to get it fixed, or to buy any kind of add-ons. These skills, these practical skills, are still needed. We still need to know how to repair things. We still need to know how to sew. We still need to know how to clean things properly if you can't afford a professional cleaner. These are all practical parts of our life path that we should be including onto our existence. So even if you chose not to go to uni, even though my parents drilled me into it, if you choose not to go, if you decide to go to like a practical school, I say practical school, where you'd learn physical skills like bricklaying and stuff like that. These are still things we need. Consider how much plumbers make. They make a fortune, but they go to a TAFE, which is a practical school. What was that in? I'm finding all bits of joy. Like, when did I break that? But these are, don't be ashamed if you've chosen to go a different life path. Even if you've switched it up like halfway through your life. At this point, I'm getting sick of teaching because I'm just fed up of the bullshit that goes with it. I'm sitting there going, what if I just become like an accountant or something? I'm good with money. I mean, it doesn't really suit the persona, but you know, life changes, so you adapt, right? Is that a... Yeah. Okay, I was going to say, is that an anklet? The thing is to be able to adapt with it and not panic if shit goes a bit wrong. You know, the British motto is keep calm and carry on. See, I didn't use proper links with that. I used shitty links I got off eBay. I'm not doing that again. Need silver. Keep calm and carry on is the motto. So if you panic and let your life completely spiral into non-existence, it's going to be a lot harder to climb back from that than it is to just slightly tweak and adjust to manage what's going on. Easier said than done when we can't exactly see what's going on from above, you know, from the upper echelons, the hierarchy. And they throw a curveball like inflation or Ukrainian wars or, you know, like, I did not see this coming. Again, adaptability is how you're going to survive. Try and anticipate the attack. Never lose sight of what skill sets are basic but needed. Should always be that fucked up. Again, accept the fuck ups. Yeah, that jump ring wasn't secure. What can I do instead? Adaptability. That's one. Is that one? You know, don't get upset if you fail like I just did. Find another way. Find another jump ring. Is that going to bend? Work your way around stuff. I have got the shakes on this series right now. I can't even remember how much coffee I've drunk. Quite a bit. Oh, will that hold? I hope so. And you know what? I might even curl that a bit. This is a skill set I picked up because I used to want to run an online jewelry business. I had an eBay store. That, and I've always been fiddling with stuff my entire life. If it's not painting, it's sewing or crafting or knitting or crocheting or patchworking or, you know, I went through a big phase where I was patchworking and I wanted to make blankets. I'm sitting there going, I already got blankets, but you know, this one's a different type of blanket. So, you know, I was convinced that I could also sell those blankets at some point. I'm going, adaptability. We've got to find ways. One of my favorite things is going to op shops and finding old bed sheets and stuff to upcycle into clothes and pillowcases and cushion covers and even fat quarters, which are just like a yard width. You'll make a fat quarter stack and sell them on eBay. Because people who do quilting will actually buy them off you, as long as it's clean and neat and there's no pilling or anything like that. So you can always repurpose, recycle stuff. It's finding the ways to do it ethically and, you know, in a way that's not going to fuck someone over in the end. Oh, come on, you. I would love to find somewhere that does sterling silver 95 jump rings. I keep reusing old ones that I've got. It bugs the shit out of me. It's because there's only so much repurposing you can do before it just falls to shit. It's like when you get plastic surgery on your nose. Coke heads. There's only so much restructuring we can do before it just collapses, buddy. There you go. There's another one. Do I want... That goes with that. That goes somewhere else entirely. I don't even know where I put that one from. Yeah, that'll do. Actually, later I'll make that into a charm bracelet. I know I'm waffling. You don't have to listen. But you know, it's adaptability is incredibly useful for anyone who's facing a particularly rocky life path. Oh, you shit. Oh, it's a different link too. Oh, you suck. Different link altogether. How did you do that? You know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make. Ooh, I might make that the link. Anyone ever watch MacGyver when they were growing up? Fucking love that shit. The only acceptable mullet they will ever tolerate is MacGyver's mullet, and that's only because he went on to do Stargate. Dude's been with little aliens. He can fix anything. He deserved that mullet. I don't know. I'm weird. Yeah, that worked. Yay! Be surprised when shit works. Get so used to shit not working that you'd be surprised when it does work. Yeah, anyway. So if you're facing struggles in life, chances are you might have contributed to it. You might want to find that, again, if you want to map out and outline what aspects are really affecting you, how you had an input in it, and how maybe you can counteract is probably the best way to look at it, rather than just panicking, throwing up your arms and running away. Ooh, see, now that's useful. I can use that. People get so used to convenience. You've got to find adaptability in the situation. I am shaking so much. Okay, this is why I can't paint figures. Because I'll be like, I remember painting a unicorn for my brother once for Warhammer. It was some lady, someone's unicorn. And I'm like, that's pretty, I'll paint that. A little figure, and it's like the worst painting ever. It's just terrible. What the fuck is that? I don't know, but it's hard now and I can't get it off. Alright, that'll work. I like fiddling with stuff. I don't know why. I must have done something in a past life where I was fiddling with stuff. Something in a past life. Fixing stuff, tinkering. Something. Hey. What to do? See, that's another brace I fixed. Hey. Let's stick that back on. I would love to know what happened to my other one of these. I was at a pub New Year's Eve like 2 years ago, and it snapped off, and I put it in my phone case, and it went somewhere. It was probably wedged between two fucking floorboards or something in the pub, or behind the couch or something, or you know, someone walked off with it or something. But I had two of them, and they matched. I'm like, I look back at the prices these days. These are like $70. I'm going, I did not pay $70 for that. I did not. Absurd. Why would I do that? Or someone's got it. Yeah, anyway, I'm waffling. I might just leave it there because it's already at 48 minutes. I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday now. I get paid tomorrow, that's pretty cool. If you're looking at a way in which to choose a life path, maybe the best way is to find something that you can sit with. If it's employment, something you can sit with that's not going to drive you fucking nuts. Have a look around, always ask someone, see what their problems are. Listen to the people that are whinging about the job. Don't just think, oh, they've been at it too long and they're just whinging at the job and they're bitter and jaded. It's like, obviously they're whinging for a reason. These are issues in the job that you're at some point you're going to have to confront. That'll fit now. You're going to have to confront in your own way. Maybe you can tolerate these particular types of people better than I could. For example, I had a lot of people in my last job that I had trouble tolerating because it just simply didn't make sense the way they were acting. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My autistic brain kicking in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Definitely this one. I have to know. My brain hurts. Oh no, that's why, because it's too short. Or is it? No, it is. Shit. I will find a way. That might be all. At the same time, you like listen to what they're going through, because obviously at some point you're going to have to confront it yourself. If you're looking for a new job or something like that, if you're looking for a relationship, look at what the exes were complaining about. If you can live with that, and not many people can, it's usually something significant. Because chances are it will arise again. If you're trying to date a polyamorous person, you know you're a devout monogamous like I am. It's like the idea of trying to date one of these people is insane. It's like it would never work and it would do more damage than good. Whereas a person dating another poly person would be like fine because you're both in it for the same game. Oh, maybe it's that way. It's absurd. You need to look for similarities. Weak fucking links anyway. Fuck you. Dicks. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do that. Look at the flaws, look at the problems. Don't just assume that you know what you're doing and you'll be fine because it's you. You need to actually be realistic about where you're going with your situation. Not everything stays the same. Everything changes and can change in a heartbeat. You might be a billionaire one day and then the next day lose everything because Bitcoin dipped. It's absurd to assume that you would stay in the same circumstances. There's nothing in life that's particularly concrete, except what they say, deaths and taxes. You could become a mortician. That's pretty solid for an employment choice. You can handle dead bodies and all that. I can hold. Let's see if it works. I became my mum actually encouraged me to become a teacher because she said it's more solid a job, because she was a teacher at the time, than clothes design. Even though my real passion at the time was designing clothes, I was really into it. Fuck yo, it's gonna fit. Which I don't know if I would have been any good in it, to be honest, because I'm pretty sure you need to go and do extra training and stuff. So if you need to do extra training, maybe you want to look at that. I didn't have the pay at the time to do the extra training. I had a choice of going. I was already in uni actually. Technically, I did uni level units. I did my foundation unit in high school because I was considered slightly bright compared to the other turds in the toilet. That's why I'm smart. Let's see what we can do with it. She's not pregnant yet. What the fuck? It's like, it seems to show a semblance of intelligence. She's not pregnant. She's a bit mental, but generally, I'm sure we could use it for something. Fuck me, I grew up in a weird area. Yeah. Work, damn it. I have an engineering degree, because of this. Work. I'll fix it. When I'm not so. Maybe that'll do it actually. But yeah, considering where you want to go, do you have the potential to get there? Do you have the patience to get there? A lot of the shit that you have to do might require some real change in your life if you're, completely uneducated, working in some field that is low maintenance. Like I did factory work for a while. They called it unskilled labor. I did factory work, packing breadcrumbs and all kinds of shit while I was training at uni to try and make ends meet. I was considered unskilled. I had an education, but I was considered unskilled because I didn't have things like a forklift ticket. Which is not a problem, you can get a forklift ticket, but if you want a job, you're going to have to look into what you need to do to get that job. And it could mean potentially going back to school, going back to upskill. And that's solely... Oh, fuck you. I am not left-handed. My name is Ningi Watoya. Okay. I'm going to ignore that because they're looking for the guy next door. When it rains, it pours. All right, I'm gonna have to leave it there. I hope you guys have a fantastic Wednesday. Take it easy. Hopefully I'm going to fix this fucking bracelet, and I hope if you're looking at anything that's challenging your life, I hope you find ways to overcome it that are ethical and sustainable, and that you come out on top, okay? Because, you know, life is one big fuck party. in some cases, either you're enjoying it or you're not. The best way is to find a way to cope with it. Take it easy. Now, hopefully I'll do another podcast tomorrow. I know I'm going to do a cards podcast after this, but hopefully another podcast tomorrow. I will fix that. I'm determined. Okay, take it easy, and I'll see you next time.